Now, you may be asking, you may not, but how was my experience at SHAD? And I'm about to tell you the entire story from day 1 to day around 27, because that's when SHAD ended. But for our year, SHAD started on the 25th of June. Now, I had known that I'd gotten into SHAD a couple weeks beforehand, and when I got that letter, because I was waitlisted, right? I wasn't actually put into SHAD at the start, but once I got the email for me to pick my campus and confirming that I was actually going to SHAD, I was ecstatic, because me personally, I procrastinated the application. Now the application, I think you can find it like months and months beforehand, and my mom kept telling me that I should finish it as quick as I can, right? Not procrastinate, obviously, but obviously I did. And I think I submitted the application a week before it was due, where we had months to actually do it. Now, was I surprised that I got into SHAD? Yeah, I was, because compared to all these other people who I imagined would be going to SHAD, which is like nerds, right? Smart people, people who didn't do anything in life but study, I knew I wasn't that type of person. So I thought that I wasn't gonna get in. But when I got that letter, I was ecstatic. Now, I think I did a little bit too much, right? I went out and I told all of my friends. You can ask my friends every single day of basically every single week. I would be like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go to SHAD. And I built up all these expectations that, hint, in the end, were exceeded actually. But I built up all these expectations. And the day before SHAD, I don't think I slept more than an hour. I went to my room and I went to my bed at like 9 p.m. because my flight was like at 8. So I had to wake up at around 5 a.m., take a bus to the airport, go to my gate, do all of that. And I don't think I barely slept before that first flight. Now, I remember going to the bus stop. I remember talking to a man there about, he was a complete stranger, I just met him. But I was telling him about SHAD because I was excited, right? I was so excited. I didn't know what to expect. In my mind, I was still thinking, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to make friends there, because I don't think I'm smart enough, right, to actually go there. And I think everyone there is going to be like really, really intellectual, be like have 100s, have 90s on all of their courses. And I thought I would be the outlier, right? But anyways, I was telling this man about it at the bus stop. And I remember the bus ride there, it was a 40-minute bus ride to Pearson Airport. And I went on the early bus. I went an hour earlier than I could have went and still made the plane. But I just wanted to be better safe than sorry, right? I was ecstatic. But I remember going to the airport. I messed up. The very first thing I did was mess up, right? I had 2 suitcases. I had a big one and then a small one, right? A carry-on. And I was gonna check the big one in, but not the carry-on. But the night before, I was measuring the weight of my big luggage, right? And I didn't know specifically if it was going to be like too heavy or too light. And I knew my carry-on was light. So guess what I did? I took random bags out of my, so when I went to check my carry-on in, I realized that I had put all of my contact liquids, all of like my sunscreen, all of that into my carry-on bag, which, as you guys know, you can't bring liquids in containers in your carry-on. So I had to go all the way back, right? I had to check my carry-on in and then check back in through security. And it was this whole hassle that started off the SHAD journey on a bad note. But I didn't let that discourage me, right? I went to the airport and I started walking around. I was early, so no one from my SHAD was at the gate. So I was just walking around when I saw a couple of kids in SHAD sweaters. Now, just to let you guys know, SHAD sends out SHAD hoodies with a different color every year about a couple weeks before SHAD started. And I didn't wear my SHAD hoodie to the airport, right? But I knew that some people would, so I could identify them. So I saw a couple of guys wearing the SHAD hoodies, and I think I recognized one of them because they were in the SHAD group chat that was made beforehand. So I went up to him, I introduced myself to him. His name was actually Lucas, and there's another guy named Aiden. And we became friends pretty quickly because I realized that they were the only ones in that group that were going to Lakehead, which was my SHAD campus. So we were talking, went to the gate. They were actually the first friends that I met on this entire SHAD journey. So big shout out to them. But I remember on the airplane, I was looking around at the gate and I saw all these people in SHAD hoodies, but I didn't really talk to any of them because I was just too busy talking to Lucas and Aiden. But I went on the plane, right? We flew to Thunder Bay, which is where the university, Lakehead University, was located. And you know, I'm not gonna go completely in detail throughout all 30 days, but we got off the plane, we went to the campus, and the whole entire first day was basically like settling in. You know, getting to know the people around you. There was like activities to get to know people. We all like got a chance to go to our dorms. And I remember I got my dorm key from, so basically, sorry, I have to track back. When we got to the campus, we had like a little walk-in section and a little section with PAs, which are like program assistants, and they would just be handing out like keys, they'd be checking us in, all that kind of stuff. So I walked by them, and I got my dorm keys, and my dorm was all the way at the end of the hall, right? So I went all the way to the end, to the door, to like a house called Atakoken. Now I go into Atakoken, and my dorm is on the second floor. So I walk up the stairs, and I go in, and on the second floor of every single house, there's like a common room, right? I go into the common room with my suitcases and my key, and I look to my right, and there's like couches in like a square, and I see just guys sitting around the couch. And I'm just like, hey guys, like, how you guys doing? And they completely just ghost me. They completely ignore me. They don't say anything back. I think one of them looks at me and nods, but then goes back to, I think they're either playing poker or Monopoly. So I'm like, all right. And I just go to my room, right? I go to my room. I don't really unpack. I just kind of put my suitcases there. I take out what's essential. And the entire first day was kind of just talking, getting to know people. And dinner time, we went to the cafeteria. And at the cafeteria, it was kind of like a buffet style dinner kind of. And I remember I was sitting with Lucas, and Aiden was nowhere to be found. So we were calling him, and turns out Aiden got lost, right? So like 20 minutes later, Aiden comes into the cafeteria with a guy named Ali. Now, Aiden and Ali have, their dorms are pretty close together, and that's how they met. Now, they got lost going to the cafeteria on the first day, and they locked themselves out. I don't know where they locked themselves out, as I don't think it was possible to lock yourself out, but they did somehow lock themselves out of some building. So finally they came to the cafeteria, and I was talking to Ali, and we became pretty cool. We became pretty good friends. I'm gonna be honest. On the first day, I was pretty let down, right? My expectations were all the way up here, and all we really did were like activities and like games to get to know people. And I remember me and Ali, like, right, because we had curfew at 11 and we couldn't leave like the house or like the campus, not really the campus, but like the campus group of houses at 10, right? We couldn't go out. So just before 10, I was walking outside with Ali. And I specifically remember we were doing like 7,000 divided by like 27 to see how much money each day actually costed. Because we were like, there's no way we spent around like $260 on this day, where all we did were like icebreakers, right? And that very first day, we were just talking about how let down we were, how this isn't what we expected, right? We expected a lot more. We did pay a lot to get there. I paid full price, Ali also paid full price. And on the second day was special, because the second day we had we had like a little introduction to Lakehead SHAD at UC, which is like a massive lecture hall, right? UC 1017. So we go there in the morning, and we have this big introduction to SHAD Lakehead, to what we're going to do, to like the SHAD website, to the schedules. And there's this program director. There's 3 program directors there. There's Dr. Oba, which is like the main guy, right? He's the main program director. There's Farhan, and there's Brandon, which are 2 other program directors. Now, Farhan was like, the first time I saw him, I'm gonna be honest, he looked intimidating, right? So we're all sitting in UC, and Dr. O was talking, like just introducing us to like Lakehead, you know, SHAD, like how it's gonna work. And he calls Farhan down to talk about some things. And Farhan's talking about some things, and at the same time, I'm gonna be honest, I was whispering to Lucas, right? Because I forgot what I was talking about, but we were talking about something, but we were like being really quiet. And I'm sure that other people were talking, but then Farhan goes, Ivan, Lucas, come down here. And I'm surprised, because I've never, like, this was the first time I've seen him, And I don't know how he knows my name specifically, and Lucas's name, but we go down and we're wondering like what's happening. Right? We didn't think we were in trouble. And he goes, "You two sit right here, right next to me in the front row." And that was my first ever interaction with him at all. So you can probably guess I was pretty annoyed at what happened, but that's just something to remember. So we go through the first couple of days. Second day, third day, fourth day, we actually get introduced to SHAD, like what we're going to be doing, the committee meetings and the DE project, right? And on the second day, we have a big activity, right? It's called like, I think it was called like mystery, like big activity or something, and it took up the entire chunk from lunch to dinner. And I was very excited about what we were going to do there. And it was actually kind of like a replication of The Amazing Race, which, as you know, is, I think it's a TV show, or it's like a reality TV show where people race around like Canada or something like that. But we had like a SHAD Lakehead Amazing Race. And my group was me, Ali, a girl called Nisha, and a couple of other people that, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really talk to in that group. But that way we got introduced to like more people, and we were just like talking, and we were just socializing throughout all of the days. And we also got introduced to our committee, right? We got to pick which committee we wanted to be in. I picked dance committee because I thought like planning a dance would be fun. We don't actually have to dance, but we were just planning the big SHAD, like end of SHAD dance, which seemed so far away at the time. Like I specifically remember the day I was going to SHAD, like on that bus ride to the airport, I was thinking, like, I can't even imagine what it's like coming back from SHAD, because 30 days away from home, like alone, that's number one, the first time I've done that, and it just seemed like such a long period of time. I like clearly remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder what I'll be feeling when I'm on the bus back, right? Like, I can't even imagine like what the world will be like after 30 days. But anyways, fast forward to like the third, fourth day. So days pass, and I'm still really, really good friends with mostly Ali, right, Lucas, Aiden, and a couple more random guys, right? And just so you guys know, throughout the entire SHAD program, there's this thing called SHAD Speaks. And SHAD Speaks is basically the only thing you have to do to prepare for SHAD, right? Basically, you have to pick any topic in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, engineering, arts, and mathematics, sorry, yeah. And you can pick any topic from there that you just have to give like a 5-minute speech on. And there's like SHAD, and because there were 80 people at our SHAD campus, SHAD Speaks was spread apart like all 30 days, right? Now, my SHAD Speaks was about my YouTube channel, because I guess that was like business, and they said you could talk about business, and I didn't really want to like research like magnetism or like something like science related. So I just talked about my YouTube channel. And when I did my SHAD Speaks, and like to be honest, my goal during SHAD was to get everybody to subscribe, because 80 subscribers, that is a lot. And at the start of SHAD, I think I had either 30 to 40 subscribers. So I was like, 80 subscribers, that will get me past the 100 mark. Like, it'll get my channel going. I can't wait to tell everyone to subscribe. And my SHAD Speaks was the first time basically everyone heard of my YouTube channel. I had been promoting like just like random people that I saw before, but that is a crucial moment. It's basically, it was like a canon event that started everything in the future. So, let's continue. So one random day in, I think it was week 1, they decided to take us. All right. Now, a lot of things happened during, but one of the important things were after the first, I was sitting down with two of like my friends, Nisha and Claire. And you can probably remember Nisha from The Amazing Race. And they were talking to me about how I should kind of recreate the motivational stories that I was posting pre-SHAD at SHAD, like an IRL motivational like story, maybe with like SHAD characters. You know, I was like, you know what? That's a really, really good idea. You can kind of see where I'm going here if you've watched my YouTube channel before. But continuing off from on July 10th, so this was like start of second week, right after a chemistry workshop, I get a text And it's from Nisha, and it goes, me and Maya, which was this other girl, are having a Love Island watch party. Want to join? And we had like kind of free time until the next activity because some people hadn't finished their workshops. So I was like, you know what? I'm down, right? Let's do it. Obviously, we're not allowed to watch Love Island at SHAD, as well, it's pretty obvious, right? They wouldn't let us. So we were just sitting in UC and we were thinking like, what should we do? And this amazing idea pops up out of nowhere, right? We should create our own movie, right? We should like create like a SHAD like short film. And when I thought of that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna do numbers on my YouTube channel. So I'm like all for this. I'm like, this is gonna go viral. I'm gonna get millions of subscribers. Let's do it. So we're brainstorming ideas. Our first thought is murder mystery. That's like the basic first thought. We're like, how can we make this even more interesting? And as Lakehead's mascot is like a wolf called Wolfie, we decided, you know what? Let's make a short film called Wolfie. Now, if you've seen Wolfie, you can probably guess, like this is basically just its origin story, right? If you haven't seen Wolfie, I'll put a link in the description. It's an amazing short film, it's just amazing. You should go watch it. It's an amazing short film. The script, the characters was written in 2 days, but I hope you guys do enjoy it. It is very enjoyable. But during the actual recording of Wolfie, that's when I think most of the SHAD memories really got created, because at the start it was me and this guy called Meg that I invited to the watch party. Me, Meg, Maya, and Nisha, right? Us four like brainstorming. We got rejected from watching Love Island, so we just started brainstorming. So it was us four at first, but we started inviting our friends, right? I invited Ali, like Nisha invited Claire, and Maya was already in it. But it was just those kind of recording sessions that kind of just, it gave me the most memories, right? So at the end of every single day, there's an hour or 30 minutes or so of free time called rec time. Now, we would usually record during rec times, but we would also record during SHAD spa days. Now, SHAD spa days are just every single Sunday, where from the beginning of the day to lunch is just basically just a free time, right? Give you time to relax, as every single day is so jam-packed with activities and lectures and workshops and DE project time and committee time that you never really have a chance to relax, to like really just wind down, right? So that's what the SHAD spa days are for, but not for us, okay? The Wolfie gang, or the Wolfie group, we would wake up at 9 a.m. on a SHAD spa day, which is crazy, right? It's crazy to think about. And we'd go outside and we'd be recording scenes. I'll put a scene on the screen right now, which was actually recorded during, I think, the second SHAD spa day in the morning. So we're all drowsy, we're all tired, but we still got to it. So, how's everyone doing today? Come on guys, lighten up. We're gonna be here for a whole month. I hope we can all get to know each other.
Agreed. We should. It's okay, Daniel. Better luck next time.
Oh, that's so loud. And that's where the memories are made. That Wolfie kind of group was were the people that I made the closest bonds with. Now, Ali, Lucas, and Aiden aren't really there because, well, Ali never came to the meetings. But that kind of group was such, like, it helped me specifically meet people, like get to know more people. That's where I got close to most of my really, really close friends. And even though it was stressful, right, we basically spent the entire like first 4 days just coming up with names and character traits, right? You may have heard of Negative Nisha, Clean Claire, Musty Meg, right? It took us like literally the whole, basically the first week of Wolfie was us in our group chat spamming name ideas, right? And even though it was so unproductive, it was so fun. And near the end of SHAD, there was this thing called the SHAD Variety Show, which is basically just a talent show. And it was 2 days before the talent show started, and we got the message that applications were open and had been open to like perform in the talent show. and the application that we had to send in what we wanted to do by like the end of tomorrow, right? Because the day after tomorrow was a talent show. The problem is, we were planning to submit Wolfie for the talent show and also my YouTube channel, but we hadn't finished Wolfie. We'd finished like a quarter of it. So literally the next 2 days, during rec time, during the morning after breakfast, during after lunch, during after dinner, we would eat really quickly and go straight to filming. And though like during that time I basically had no free time, we locked in Angela, which you may know from Wolfie as well. She edited basically the entire thing for the talent show, and it did get played there. It did get very positive reviews, which I'm very proud of. But I obviously re-edited it for YouTube. But that was one of the most impactful experiences for me, and I hope for the people who were in Wolfie as well. But to be honest, that's one of the things that kind of started my growth through SHAD. Because if you were to look at my YouTube channel before, like pre and post SHAD, right? Before SHAD, it was all like motivational videos. I wouldn't even put my face on camera. It would just be like a 3D looping wallpaper with my voice in the background saying a motivational story, right? And these videos would get like 8 views and like 4 views and like 13 views. And I knew I had to change. But I didn't think SHAD is the thing that would change, right? See, before SHAD, I've been on the SHAD website and everything, and it talks about how transformative SHAD is, how life-changing it is. And like, I was like, what will change about me, right? And Wolfie was kind of the start of that, right? It was the start of like video producing. It was the start of editing. And later during SHAD, during the last 2 days, as you might know if you have been watching my YouTube channel, I did vlog the last 2 days of SHAD, and that was the first vlog I ever did, right? And that led me into downloading DaVinci Resolve to start editing after SHAD, editing SHAD reunion videos like that. So that's kind of the start of how SHAD transformed me. We'll talk about that a little bit later though. So during our filming of Wolfie, during week 2, we had a camping trip.
Hey.
It's 7 p.m. Friday, it's 95 degrees. I ain't got no lip, and no nigga ain't got me. I'm about to show my ass. This nigga love free. How the fuck is that your man? If he right here with me.
Now this camping trip obviously was overnight, but I remember I was in the tent with, it was me, Ali, Lucas, and Aiden. And it was crazy how all 4 of us got paired into the same tent, because I didn't think they'd let that happen. But that was one of the most fun field trips that we went on. Went to the beach, we went to, we had s'mores. It was just a fun experience overall. There's one thing that happened that wasn't as fun as anything else. And what happened that I'm actually kind of grateful for is that I got an ear infection. I think a bug bit my ear, and I went to the beach and went to the water, so it got infected. But the days after, my left ear was completely swollen, right? There was pus leaking everywhere, and I had to go to the hospital. I had to go to the pharmacy to get pills, and I had an IV right here for 3 nights. So I had to sleep with it, right? I had to do all my SHAD activities with it. It was horrible. But one of the things that really I think benefited out of the ear injury experience was every time I would go to the hospital, I'd have to be accompanied by a PA, right? Like I got accompanied by, like I think, because I went to the hospital 3 times, and every single time I would go to the hospital, I would talk with the PA, because it was just one-on-one, right? I would talk to them about, you know, what they're studying, like how SHAD is going. And you might think that when you go to SHAD, like the SHAD to SHAD connections will be like the strongest, and they are, but the SHAD and PA connections, because the PAs are just universities, like mostly university students themselves, are actually, like, the more you talk to them, the more you actually start to like them. Like the PAs at Lakehead especially, they were basically like older brothers and older sisters, right? You could talk to them about anything. They were always so fun to be with. They were all really chill, and they were strict about things that needed to be strict about, but otherwise they were like older brothers and sisters. And that experience with the hospital and talk to them and like having like deep talks with them about like their life, about my life, really brought into the perspective that like even when you're growing older, you're still you. Like when I think about me when I'm 20, right? I feel like I used to think that I would be like a completely different person. I would be disciplined. I would be rich. I'd have a different mindset. I would be like a different Ivan. But the fact is, like, you don't like flip a switch once you're 18, right? You slowly grow. You're still you when you're older, and that kind of got brought into my perspective when I went to those hospital trips with those PAs. But on the bad side, I had to take 4 pills a day. I had to take 8 pills a day once. I had the IV in me. I couldn't like do fitness sessions or anything like that, which is horrible. All right, moving on. So, as you've probably heard about, there's this DE project which spans the entirety of SHAD, right? They introduce it to you on like day 3. You get your groups and you start brainstorming startup ideas, business ideas, etc. Now, the DE project isn't something that's like really like where each DE meeting is very, very fun or very, very boring, because you have a lot of DE project time. It's not like they don't give you a lot of time. And to be honest, every single meeting, I wouldn't consider it to be fun, but you really, really do learn a lot, right? Because you research things in depth. You have to research financials, like investments, how your company's gonna work, who you employ, how you get your money to fund this idea, this solution to the question that you're given, right? It's kind of like what PhD is. Okay, I'll relate to like a IB/IA, if any of you guys are in the IB program. It's kind of like an IA, but you actually but it's like a business, and you have to, and it's like very, very financial, right? The good thing is you get very, very qualified and intimidating mentors. You get a lot of business lectures, right? Like talking you through the different steps, like the different spreadsheets you have to fill out, things like that. And the experience was fun, and I credit a lot of that experience to my PA who was supervising my group, Theo. I actually miss him like a lot. He was one of the most unique and like cool people I've ever met. He was actually the first PA I ever talked to. Like when I got to the airport at Thunder Bay, I remember I was with Lucas, and I had a question about how we're gonna cut her hair at SHAD, right? So I remember I went up to Theo and I was like, "Excuse me, do you think, are we gonna be able to get a cut during SHAD?" And I remember he looked at me like with such a dirty look that I thought he would be like such a strict PA, and that like I wouldn't like him very much, to be honest. But throughout the course of SHAD, like obviously you get to know people better. I got to know Theo better, and especially as a DE group manager, he taught us a lot of things. He was very motivational. He was very like, he had a lot of life lessons to give, just like an older brother. But anyways, along with the DE meetings, during it was either week 3 or week 2, me and my friends had an amazing idea of having a sleepover. Now, because there's so much different there's 4 main houses in the Lakehead campus, where 2 of them are guys and 2 of them are girls, right? We're separated. And a lot of our friends were separated between Atakokan and Ear Falls, which were 2 different houses. And we wanted to have a sleepover, right? Not everybody, but just some people. And I'm gonna be honest, I think a lot of people regret what they did at the sleepover. I'm not gonna say who, but it did get very, very crazy. But it's those nights where you stay up with your friends that you really kind of appreciate the moment, right? You don't think about what's after SHAD. You don't think about like your DE project. You don't think about your committee. You're just kind of in the moment, enjoying, doing things that you'll probably regret the next morning. But some pretty crazy things happened at sleepover, and I'm gonna name some. First of all, it was in a common room, right? The entire common room got completely sprayed by Axe body spray. So people had bought an Axe body spray from the weekly Walmart trips, and one person, which I won't name the name of, took 2 cans and sprayed it all over the common room where we were sleeping. So it smelled absolutely horrible. We had a massive pillow fight with the people there as well as the PAs. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm just gonna say it. The PAs came in and we ambushed them with pillows. It was just a crazy night, right? And it's a night that I think everybody that participated in the sleepover will remember. But after that sleepover, like the days would go on, and to be honest, a lot of the days blurred together. Not because they're the same, but because the entire experience is so like, I don't want to say euphoric, but it's so like you have so much memories, but at the same time, so much memories are lost, right? Because it's such a long period of time, and it's so different from regular life. So I'm gonna be skipping through some things, but basically, as the days went on, the end of SHAD was growing near. At that time, I remember I was talking to Theo when we were like walking to a lecture, and I was like, Theo, like there's no way it's already been 3 weeks. Like that's crazy. Like the 3 weeks that had just passed were, I promise you, the fastest 3 weeks of my entire life. Like everything blurred together, right? All the friends I made, all the things that we actually did, because we would do like 10 different things each day, right? The schedule had no break time except for that rec time at the very bottom, and if you ate very quick, like after meals, right? And everything like blurred together, but everything went by so quickly, and it seemed crazy that like this experience was almost over. And then came DE pitch day, which was a dreaded day for everybody in SHAD. And I remember walking into that room, and all like the business and like qualified professionals were just in front of me, and I was in my suit and tie, and I was the one doing the introduction, right? So I was starting everything off, and if I messed up, I didn't have any cue cards, and if I messed up, all like the month's work would have been destroyed. And I remember saying my introduction, saying my parts, and to be honest, thinking back now, like more than a month after SHAD ended, I feel like I should have appreciated DE more, because DE genuinely taught me so much things about collaboration, about actually taking the first step to starting something. And our first idea was a $50 billion idea, and our idea at the end was a 3rd place winner in all the groups. So that like kind of transition, that going like the mistakes that you make along the way to making a good business startup idea, like it doesn't only help you in business, right? It helps you with problem solving, it helps you with time management, like you filling out those forms about financials, about like your team. It helps you in ways that you can't even imagine. So, and after that DE pitch, it felt like there was no way DE was finished, right? Because since there were so many DE work periods, and I remember meeting my DE members for the very, very first day, and knowing that that entire like story arc was over, it was such like a unreal feeling. Like you felt like you would be dreaming that the next day there would be more DE project time, but there wasn't. On the very last week was, to be honest, it was like the later part of the week was packed, but the entire week just flew by so quickly. We had the banquet where we got our certificates, and we had our last meal. And at the very end of the banquet, all of the PAs, Farhan and Brandon, and I don't know if Dr. Oba did this, but they give out pins, right? So it's kind of like awards. It's like a graduation ceremony, like you've graduated from SHAD, right? Since they call you SHAD alumni, where they call like table groups up, and you walk in a line, and all the PAs and like directors are standing here, and each one of them gives a pin to someone that they choose, right? Like they pick who they want to give pins to. And like walking up there, I didn't know who was gonna give me my pin, right? I walked up there, and I want you guys to guess. It was Farhan, the guy who called me out on the very, very first day. And I remember I was walking, and Farhan was like, "Stop." And I turned towards him, and he put the SHAD pin in my suit. He was like, "Ivan, on the very first day, I thought you were going to be a troublemaker, and that's why I called you out. But throughout SHAD, you really showed me that you were a good kid, and like that you'll do great things." And that really like hit here, right? Because I remember I was like obviously really annoyed at him on the very first day, but throughout SHAD, as we talked more, as we like got to know each other more. He's not a university student, but as we got to know each other more, like it was just this arc, right? The entirety of SHAD is just this arc of like getting to know people, forming connections, like making yourself even better. And the fact that Farhan gave me that pin, first of all, showed me that SHAD was ending. And second of all, showed me like how deep you can really get to know someone. How your first impression of someone like gets changed so much just by talking to them, right? Just by socializing with them. And that really, really hit home. But after the banquet, then came the dance. It was something that I was really excited about because like we had planned the dance, obviously, but the dance went really, really well. I'm very proud to say that I hosted like a lot of dance games that went on. We chose the entire playlist, and I think everybody enjoyed it, which is amazing. But after the dance, like the Wolfie group had an idea. We were going to ask for a bi-gender sleepover, right? Because the first sleepover was all guys, but because it was the last day, we wanted like everyone in Wolfie and like our friends to all sleep over in one common room. So we asked Dr. Oba for this, and what he said was, you guys can stay up as late as you want, but when you go to sleep, go back to your rooms. And we're like, all right. And our plan was just to not go to sleep, right? Because if you don't go to sleep, you don't have to go back to your own room. So we all came to Atakokin, which is my house's common room, and we stayed up the entire night. And I'll be honest, I think I fell asleep I actually don't remember falling asleep. Like everyone tells me that I did fall asleep, but a lot of things happened. And a lot of things happened that, like now thinking back to what I did, I was completely geeked out. Like I did some crazy things that I'm not even gonna say, and that I hope is never brought up in the history of my life. Like that very last sleepover brought, I think it was like the main thing that brought everybody closer, right? It was like the last couple of hours of SHAD. Everyone was, well, some people were asleep, but a lot of people were awake. A lot of people did things that they regretted. A lot of people probably don't even remember what they did, but it was an amazing night. And the next morning, we all got up and it was time to go on the buses and go back to the airport. And throughout the entirety of SHAD, I was told that everyone cries, right? I was told that everybody cries when people leave. And I was not planning on crying because I was like, because most of my friends still lived in Toronto, so I was like, I'll see them after SHAD. Some didn't, but it can't be that bad, right? So I was not expecting like everybody to cry. And at the start, I'll be honest, I held to my belief. I didn't until like some of my favorite PAs, Theo and Francesco, came up to me like bawling and like hugging me and telling me how much like I was an inspiration to them. And when people started leaving, that's when like it really, really hit home. Like I spent 30 days with these people. Like they're literally like my cousins, right? They're my brothers and sisters. And this was the last time I was seeing more than like 60 of them. And you probably know what happened next. But yeah, we got on a plane. I just slept that plane ride because I didn't sleep. I don't think I slept the night before. And on the go bus home, I don't even remember what I was thinking. It was like, it genuinely felt like a blur. Because it was the afternoon when I got back to Toronto. And I remember I was bawling my eyes out on the go bus. I wasn't even thinking any, like, I remember. I was thinking, I was like, damn, this is how it feels to come back from SHAD. Because before I was like, I don't know how I'll feel. And I wasn't, like, there was no way I could have guessed that I would be bawling in the afternoon in full daylight on the go bus back to like the bus station near my house. But that did happen. And throughout the next couple of days after SHAD, I like to call it SHAD withdrawal, right? Everything that I wanted to do, like I didn't want to do anything that wasn't SHAD related. Like I would edit the SHAD vlog. I would read through the month book. I would like be on my phone texting my SHAD friends like all day, right? I would call my SHAD friends, and like everything to do with like home and all the responsibilities that were suddenly just like forced upon me. Well, not forced, they were on me already, but that I remembered that I had to do, like my piano exam that was coming up soon, right? Grade 11 of IB that was coming up that I had to pre-study for. All of that just like landed on my shoulders when I arrived home. And I didn't realize how much SHAD like took those responsibilities off. Like SHAD genuinely felt like a world inside of a world, right? It was like we had our own little world, our own little houses, like our own little family. We would have bonfires, we would have karaoke nights, we would have like walks. We would live like, just mainly the fact that I lived alone, because we didn't have roommates, that we lived alone in our own dorm rooms. It made coming out, like leaving that world, such a hard thing to do. And to be honest, when I think about SHAD, obviously I miss the big things, but a lot of the things that I miss are the small things, right? Like the things like my morning routine. I remember every morning I would, like, my phone would be charging and my alarm was sound. I'd get up, I'd close my alarm, and then I'd immediately open Spotify and play music to wake myself up. I would take off my contacts, I would do my morning push-ups, I would go to like the shared washroom, I would wash my hair, I would brush my teeth. And I'll be honest, I skipped breakfast from the second, third, and fourth week just because you would have to wake up so early to actually go to breakfast. And because you kind of stay up late, I couldn't wake up as early. But that entire morning routine, like thinking about it and thinking about how every single day I would wake up in my dorm, right, and do those things, go out and just see like my friends right in the morning and go through my entire day with them, and now coming back here and not seeing them for weeks on end, and like having a completely different life is just, it's like a flash, right? It's like you've been doing something for so long and suddenly you just can't do it anymore, right? It's just a complete change. But I think I'm one of the lucky ones, because a lot of my good friends, my good SHAD friends, actually live like not close to me, but they live in like train bus distance. And like as you might have seen, we've had a lot of SHAD reunions. I have met up with them, and every single time I do, it's like I'm being put into that world again, right? It's literally just me and my SHAD friends, and I don't care about anything that's around me, right? I can like vlog in front of, like in public places, I can do whatever I want, and it doesn't matter because I'm in that world, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I have cried a lot since SHAD has ended because of SHAD, but it was just such an overall like like I know I'm sounding like stereotypical from maybe like the other SHAD reviews you've seen on the internet, but it was life changing, right? It did change my life in such a big way. I've started editing so much more, right? This YouTube channel is so much more important to me than it was before, right? You can see such like a drastic difference in the YouTube. I've started editing like edits. I've started like going out more, being more social. I've been more locked into school just because I was surrounded by like smart people for an entire month, right? It was such a life-changing and meaningful experience that I don't think you can find in any other place. And there's so many things that I just don't have the time to explain, right? If I actually explained every single thing that I remembered, which isn't a lot, but it would be like a 4-hour straight video of just me talking. It was genuinely such like the only way to explain it is it's its own world, right? And it's like a euphoric world where like when you come back out of it, it's like yes, you're forced into the real world, but like there's so many things that you just reminisce about. And like at night when like I'm sleeping, there's no night where I haven't thought about and started missing Shad, and like haven't looked at my camera roll and looked at all the Shad memories. But the Shad withdrawal really hit. And I heard about it from Reddit before I went to Shad, and I was like, there's no way you get withdrawal from a summer camp. But it did hit, and it hit very hard.
Can I have some water?
What are you doing?
Can I have some water?
Oh, I can't believe I got the question wrong. Is 19, bullshit. I can't believe I got the question wrong. Is World War II not in 1984?
Actually, it says
You went out of frame. You went out of frame.
Wait.
Okay, but why would you do that? You could get kicked out for that, you know? It was so funny though. It was disgusting.
What? Oh my gosh, it was so funny. It was like.
So how's everyone doing today? Come on guys, lighten up. We'll be here for an entire month. We should all get to know each other.
agreed. We should all.
So how's everyone doing today? Come on guys, lighten up. We're gonna be here for a whole month. I hope we can all get to know each other.
Agreed. We should.
It's okay, Daniel. Better luck next time.
Oh, that's so bad.